I'm reading the manga. Which is what I planned to say, but this game is hard! But this is not an under 20 video. What I want to talk about is not the electrifying climax, but the concepts that lurk in the shadows, the foundational building blocks that form this conglomerate of brilliance and make it all possible. The secret of Blue Lock. Yes, I finally got it! You got it? I got it! What is it? The Thing. Oh yeah, The Thing. Yup, The Thing. Well, obviously, I know what The Thing is, but for any viewer that may be confused, what is The Thing? Here's the thing. Something about Blue Lock really bothered me. It almost feels impossibly well written. Every single character comes with a perfect set of advantages and disadvantages, and interacts with the story in completely unique ways that create seemingly infinite situations. It wouldn't be strange if a couple characters were extremely well written, but for 90% of a relatively large cast to be near perfect? And most surprising to me, you can't feel the power creep. If you think about it, the Blue Lock system inherently lends itself to explosive and exponential power creep. As more people get eliminated, the stronger the competition will become, but there's also the element that teams can change very often, and previous enemies may become allies. And on top of all of that, every single game since the beginning has been extremely intense. And so the competition naturally gets stronger, Isagi regularly gets strong teammates, and every single game is where the soccer is the hottest. The most natural solution is to have the next opponent be stronger than the last, and the next one after that will be even stronger, and so on until it's completely ridiculous. You'd expect the power creep to get completely out of control. But it never did. The increase is gentle, natural, believable. There are absolutely no random and unexpected jumps. Where do you even begin writing something like that? It almost seems inhuman.
It's really weird, you will see.
I couldn't figure out how all of this was managed. It's not possible to consider every single possibility beforehand. If I wanted to figure this out, I had to change my approach. Understanding what makes the writing good is not enough. I need to go one level deeper. I need to know how. So we'll start from the basics. The process of creating anything has three fundamental stages: the idea, the method, and the product. As viewers, we only have access to the final product, but if we can figure out the method, we might be able to get a better idea of what the creator was thinking. And so, we need to find a weak point, a mechanism to decipher that can act as the entry point. Bingo. If we get an idea of how the power creep was prevented, everything else might start to make a lot more sense. First, let's categorize the games. There are three distinct jumps in power in the story so far: Nagi, Rin, and Sae. I'm not counting any of the games before Nagi because those are pretty much just introductions to the characters or ideas we need to keep an eye on. And so, how do you make the remaining games exciting without increasing the strength of the enemy? Simple, by nerfing the allies. But the way it's done is quite interesting. The thing you have to remember is that this is Isagi's story of how he became the Hokage, King of the Pirates, Sekaiichi no Striker. And so, even though everyone else is going through the same process, the story is from Isagi's perspective, and because it's from Isagi's perspective, we're following his objective. Obviously, he's trying to win every game, but that's not always the whole story. In the game to decide the starting 11, there was literally no risk of him losing that game. So that can't be the only reason. How he wins is arguably more important, and depending on that how, his allies can be more or less useful. And so, his allies aren't nerfed objectively, but functionally. Let's start with the 2v2 match, Isagi and Nagi versus Naruhaya and Baro. Isagi probably could have passed the ball to Nagi the entire time and won the game, but he needed to gain a skill to win 1v1s. Nagi, being the big bad boss of the previous section, couldn't help him with that. Also, the choice of Baro as the main opponent was very intentional. As someone with a strong physique, skills specifically for one-on-ones, and his one-man army attitude, he was the toughest possible opponent for Isagi at that moment. But in the next game, Baro became the weak link. The objective became creating chemical reactions with your teammates, and Baro's outlook on the game got in the way of that. The perfectly balanced teamwork of Reo, Chigiri, and Kunigami overcame the one-on-one prowess that was so important in the previous match, and so the once formidable enemy became a useless ally. Isagi is always in a position that is the worst case scenario with reference to whatever his objective is, but his opponents are not inherently stronger. It's a combination of making Isagi's allies less useful and making his opponents situationally overvalued that makes every game exciting. It's careful manipulation of Isagi's perspective and objective. When you look at it like this, it takes a massive load off of the character writing. It's not that every single minute detail down to the most minuscule of interactions was considered beforehand. It's that the characters are written to intentionally obstruct Isagi and his objective. When the opponent is no longer Isagi and the objective has changed, they naturally lose value. Weaknesses and downsides will reveal themselves naturally. A good example is Karasu. His whole thing is hard pushing weak players to make the team collapse, and his target was Isagi, while Isagi's objective was to make a personal impact. And so, Isagi was doing everything in his power to make a personal impact, and Karasu was doing everything in his power to stop him. That's what made the match intense. But in the next match, they were faced with a defense with literally no weaknesses. What made Karasu such a problem was now no longer an option. It even applies to characters that aren't the main opponents, like Reo. His balance of skills made good use of Nagi's genius in the Team V game. He was also the anchor of the Chigiri Kunigami team. Both times that put Isagi in the worst possible position, but as time went on, being a basic all-rounder meant that he couldn't compete with specialized skills. The progression writes itself. But by far, the most important benefit to this method is time. It gives time to Isagi to improve. It gives time to introduce new characters. It gives time to progress already established characters, both on and off screen. And all that extra time is what makes it feel so natural. That's why there can be so many distinct and well-developed characters. It stretches the time that we spend at a specific power progression, capitalizing on the benefits without being boring. In summary, the power creep process is prevented by manipulating Isagi's perspective and objective to alter the value of the characters to ensure that every game can be exciting without the power level increasing. This had the subsequent effect of buying time to establish and explore characters, which is why we have such an expansive and well-developed cast. It's a formula that you barely notice, but forms the foundation of all the characters, and that is the secret of Blue Lock. Case closed. I really wish I could have ended the video like that, but after watching the Under 20 game, it's painfully clear that Kanashiro's bag is not empty. While this is a secret to making Blue Lock as consistent as it is, it's only one of many. That game was full of interesting ideas and techniques that I never would have anticipated, not to mention the music, oh my god! There were parts of it that were pretty obvious, but of course there were, it's shonen manga. It's more concerning that there are still parts of it that I can't fully decipher. This series continues to surprise me, and I'm excited to uncover more of its mystique in the future. I stand by my statement, Blue Lock is still the king of sports anime. Anyway, pretty good, 4 out of 10. No, but seriously, if anybody knows where to find the OST for the Under 20 game, I am desperate. They dropped way too many bangers to be gatekeeping like this.